overall, I think this is going to be a couple months where it's like, yeah, our DC numbers are going to be down. We are not going to be selling as many DC comics in January and February as we will in November and December. Just won't.
This goes out to the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Can have us talking about French fries and they'll like it.
I think that's when we should have started, when you said anything after 500 is a bonus.
Uh-huh.
We can talk about whatever we want.
Even the patrons didn't get to hear us talk about underwhelming French fries for the last 2 minutes.
My point stands.
What a waste.
My point stands.
No, you're not wrong. When you're getting delivery French fries, I mean, there was a kind of interesting thing that was done on, I don't know if it was Takeout, but some site.
Takeout a website?
Yeah, it's one of the Onion, AV
it's an
Club,
assassin
Gizmodo
to
Media
hiree website.
Sure. But they did a study of like McDonald's French fries and basically went, how long do they last? What is the optimal time at which you should eat them? And like basically the lifespan of a McDonald's French fry is like less than 7 minutes.
Forever and never.
It is like there's a real sweet spot between like 1 and like 3 minutes out of the fryer. Anything before that is like they're not really they're too,
not cooked enough.
They're too hot. There's too much oil, and then anything after that is like they're basically just like room temperature and gross. So I mean that's and most French fries are going to be along those lines where it's just if you're getting them delivered, you're kind of agreeing that they are going to be what's the word I'm looking for? Not
lackluster.
No, not lackluster. Subpar.
Soggy.
No.
Not worth your time?
No, please don't help me.
I'm deliberately not helping you.
Every time I get close, you say a word and then it pushes me farther away. Compromised.
Salted.
They're going to be compromised. Like you're agreeing that you are not going to judge them by the same standards that you would judge them by if you were getting them freshly at a restaurant. Except for you,
I don't think that's a tacit agreement.
Who you are not agreeing to that at all.
No, definitely not.
You are keeping them at the exact same metrics.
Someone needs to do a study that shows the effects of different type of French fry grease on different types of comic book paper.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to bring back the comics. That was my way to do it.
Yeah, fine.
You know, who stains what paper more? Mm-hmm. You know, it's staining the comic book retail industry. Oof, that wasn't a stretch, right? That was pretty great.
Love it. Go on.
It's a thing we were talking about last night that has now blown up today.
Okay.
Can you remember what it was?
I don't think so.
It's not the first Ronin.
Oh, it's the last Ronin, the TMNT Last Ronin, or as most people who call the store asking for it say, "Do you have Ronin?"
Frank Miller's Ronin?
Which
sure.
is what I look for, and then I'm like, "Oh, wait, do you mean the Turtles book?" And then we catch up to what they actually want. Now, the amount of people who think that the first issue is already shipped and we're just out of it is a very high number, which makes me very nervous for when the book actually does come out.
Oh, well, what do you mean nervous? Like,
they come in and they look around, they're like, yeah, I can't find the new Turtles book, The Last Ronin, and I go, well, it hasn't come out yet.
It's worse than you imagined.
Yeah, sure.
Because this is going to be a massive speculator book.
Oh, yeah, for additional reasons now.
For additional reasons, because...
I mean, it was going to be before. Like, people were very excited about this book, and the issue one was...
It's not a massive speculator book if demand exceeds... or if supply exceeds demand.
But that's the thing. Like, for a limited edition... In limited edition, I mean, there is a print run, and that is what exists in the world. For a collectible item, a hot book, demand will always exceed supply.
Now...
Like, it'll always find some way to snap up whatever copies come out, because there is... organic demand. Like, it's not just speculators. There are a lot of people who are not Turtles readers who are genuinely and fervently excited about this book, which is what's causing a lot of the kind of halo effect of the speculators.
Dark Knight, but for Turtles.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Oftentimes, a book has come out where we've believed in it, and if there's a comparable tie-in book, like let's say it's an X-Men miniseries, and we say... Oh, you know what? Let's use House of X #1.
Okay.
You know, we were selling X number of Uncanny X-Men at that point.
Uh-huh.
So then you think, how many multiples of that do you want for this book?
Yeah.
How many times do you times it?
Yeah, I think for House of X, for issue 1, I think it was around 5 or 6 times what we were selling for Uncanny at the time.
Right. So when we get caught short, that is our fault. That is our problem.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be the other way around. It's not supposed to be the publisher that gets caught short.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the final order cutoff program, is that you submit orders to the publisher by a certain date, and after that date, they go to press with what they've received, plus whatever overage they feel like they need to do. Some publishers, like Robert Kirkman at Skybound, frequently will do massive overprints for a book because he wants to know that retailers can get more copies when demand increases, because it frequently does for his books.
Okay, but that is, once Robert Kirkman has those numbers,
right,
then he adds more to it.
Like if he gets, and I'm just going to pull a number out of a hat, 50,000 copies ordered for issue 1 of a new book, he might say, okay, but I think we should be selling 200,000, so I'm just going to print 150,000 more that are going to sit in the supply chain, and they will eventually go away. I'm not as concerned about the collectability as I am about making sure that everybody who wants to read the first chapter of this book in print can. Most people don't do that. Like, you know, if Marvel or DC does a #1, they might do an overprint, if any, of like 5 to 10%. They might do very, very little, because the thought generally is that it's better to go back to press for a second print, which people will treat as a variant cover, and collectors will want more of that, than just having more copies available of issue 1, because what's important is the cover and the collectability, not the story.
Okay, but the point I was getting at was they have the number, then they add to it.
Exactly.
But what if they didn't have the number?
What if, for various reasons in 2020, they decided to go to print with a number and then lock in the numbers from retailers? That would be bad.
Especially if, well, you know, if you are a publisher and you think, oh, I published this book about, I don't know, pulling off the top of my head, a house pet.
Sure.
That has somehow become a superhero.
Yes. Through radiation.
Oh, sure. Let's take it.
Yeah.
And let's say I traditionally sell, and again, I'm making these numbers up, 20,000 copies of every issue.
Sure.
And then I have a super fancy miniseries coming out that's this amazing futuristic what-if story.
Where literally the preview comic that was distributed to stores became...
Not enough stores, Dow. Only some stores. Not all the stores. No, not all. Because there's stores that did not get it, Dow.
Became such a collector's item that even the preview comic that we mostly throw away copies of things like that by the end of the month because no one wants to take them is going for double digits online. Possibly triple, because I haven't checked in a while.
Also, that's
how hot this concept is.
Right, but that's a whole... Like, it's not even the preview book anymore.
Oh, that's right, because the art has changed.
Yeah.
Now, probably going for triple.
So now it's super rare.
The art that won't even be in the first issue of a hypothetical comic book.
So what if, as a publisher, I decide I'm going to make it a really, challenging format?
Sure.
Like, I'm going to invent my own size to it.
Sure.
Like, it's not a comic size. It's not a magazine size.
Yeah.
It's taller than a magazine, but thinner than a comic.
Yeah.
Like, what if I do that?
DC did stuff like that in the past, where they need to go to press on the lenticular covers they were doing, and usually that means that, like, okay, there's the initial order, and then there's the final order cutoff, at which point they go to press. But what DC was doing at the time was saying, okay, we're going to have to go to press after the initial order, but before the final order cutoff. So you can change your numbers on final order cutoff, but if you go up, we can't guarantee you're going to get those numbers. What you order on initial order is basically what we can guarantee. And even then, we're going to make you order it months in advance. Years later, they would do it differently, and they'd figure it out, and there was a little bit more flexibility.
What they would do is they would put the FOC a lot earlier. Sometimes you'd be ordering that issue's FOC before you've FOC'd the previous issue.
Right. But at the time, they were doing things where they were basically telling you, we are going to press without necessarily knowing what your numbers are going to be. Keep that in mind. But that's the thing that you never want to do as a publisher. You kind of don't want to tell a retailer, the number that you ordered is not necessarily the number you're going to get. Like, things happen. We got allocated on a few Marvel books recently that we would then get in subsequent weeks because there's a problem with the printer. these things happen. Everything got filled at a certain point. No big deal. You know, a little bit of a hassle, but not anything that was going to, like, drastically alter our ability to sell a book. However...
Well, just to cut to the chase, IDW went to press before FOCs.
For TMNT The Last Ronin #1.
They picked a number that they thought, and they even said, don't worry, we'll be able to fill all orders. It's fine.
Yeah, they picked an extraordinarily high number relative to what they sell for an average issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Well, everybody is ordering this book in ridiculous quantities, us included.
Yeah, I think we're at 9 or 10 times what we were ordering a regular issue of
It's
TMNT.
a little over 6. I just did the math in my head.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess.
6 times, and then there's an extra 10 copies.
Yeah, okay. Wow, I thought we were lower on TMNT by now by that.
Well, I mean, plus or minus 2 or 3 issues. Sure. So, let's say 7 times.
Yeah.
Round up to 7 times our normal total numbers.
Sure.
And before any of this even happened, you had said to me, I don't think that's enough.
No, because we'd had people asking in recent days, and again, the amount of people that are coming in asking for this book don't read TMNT. They honestly don't even read comics for the most part, but this concept they are incredibly excited for. And we've had people joining our subscription service specifically for TMNT Last Ronin. So even our number that, again, is like 7 times what we would order for TMNT suddenly didn't feel like it was going to be enough to get us through a 5-issue miniseries that's going to take like 8 months to come out.
It's not comparable. There's no reason to tie the Last Ronin number to the regular Turtles book number just because they're Turtles together. You can't use that as your base.
But at the same time, like, it's written by the people who wrote TMNT for like 100 issues.
Yeah, but it's based off of a concept that Eastman and Laird had back in the 90s.
Sure, but
80s,
even then, like,
80s.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's okay to use TMNT as your baseline because the idea of it being like something that somehow people would just be like, well, I've got to see this like futuristic turtle story, and it's like they've done weird things that happened to the Turtles over the years, and people don't seem that keyed into it.
Yeah, but my point is, if we were using that as our baseline for any other Turtle miniseries,
sure,
it would be not even double.
Oh, God, no. I mean, it would, like, for Jenica, we went pretty much what we ordered for TMNT.
A little higher, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. And
I mean, for the first issue, not by the end.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what we would basically order. Like, that range of high to low selling issues of TMNT is what we would do for almost any miniseries. But this one, again, the amount of interest was way outside of the normal TMNT readership.
So orders came in much higher than IDW had printed. Mm-hmm. So everybody's getting allocated by roughly 20%. Mm-hmm. So you'll be getting roughly 80% of what you ordered.
Yes. Which means that a book that was already like massive collector bait is now scarce and limited collector bait. And good God, is that a recipe for people being really obnoxious about it. Thankfully, we're past the window of being able to alter orders and stuff. So anyone at this point who wants to sign up for it, fine. But you can't get more than 2 copies.
Right.
Like, that's it. And Day of is the same thing.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
We're past the point of people being able to order 5 or 10 copies or whatever, because we know for a fact we can't fill that. It's not happening.
Yeah, they've already announced the second print.
Right, which we're going to order, and it'll come in between issues 1 and 2.
I'm curious what your thoughts are for the quantity for that.
What number?
Yeah.
We have to fill it. Like,
next week.
We have to submit numbers before issue 1 comes out.
Yes.
So we don't even have an idea of, like, how fast is this thing selling, and what orders do we need to maybe fill.
You have to imagine that there's a considerable amount of that fan base that will want it because it's...
Sure, man.
Yeah.
The number in my head is 25 copies.
Okay.
We could maybe go higher than that, but it's going to...
Well, if you consider that...
Because there'll be a third print, too. They basically said, we're going to keep supporting this thing for the duration of the miniseries.
So you read the press release?
I did, yeah. I'm glad they put something
out. Did you read the updated press release or the press release?
I read the email I got from Diamond and IDW.
Oh, I don't know if I got that. That's weird.
I mean, that's what
you
I
must
got.
have. Well, I read something online, but it started with
update.
On
the internet.
Yeah. Well, I also got to read all of the outrage and the retailers who are
outrage on the internet,
hoping that IDW now goes out of business because of this.
Wow. I'm sorry you won't make all of the money. Instead, you'll just make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, look, this isn't ideal, and I'm not happy about it either. But I will grant IDW this thing. They're trying to do this during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, the idea that this is just like, well, they screwed up, like, they're working against a lot of headwinds, same as anybody else. And I think they're doing some things behind the scenes that are trying to make things right for retailers. It's not obviously more copies of a first print like we'd all like, but that ship has sailed. I think they're again, for a non-ideal situation, I think it's okay. It's not anything to be that cross about. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I absolutely do. And do you want to talk about what they're doing or not?
I mean, we can, yeah.
I just, like, even talking about this in general may have the adverse effect of people listening to this being like, oh, I got to get that book now.
Probably.
Yeah.
Basically what they're doing is, they're allocating, and they're going back to press as quickly as they can, which is great.
Which, December 2nd is when that book comes out, the second print. Yeah,
which, again, should be in advance of issue 2 coming out. So people will be able to read issue 1 before issue 2, no matter when we sell out. They're going to be they're producing basically a thank you variant in the same way that Boom does frequently for their books. That'll be provided free to retailers. That has, I think, a different like a foil logo or something.
Yeah, a red foil logo.
Yeah, and that'll be distributed to stores based on their pre-allocation order quantities.
So here's where it comes. If you ordered 75 copies, you're going to get one of these red thank you variants.
Right, and then I think quantities of 75 up to 5 copies is what you'll get.
Yeah, that's the maximum.
Yeah, so if you ordered 500 copies, you're still only going to get 5 copies of those
thank
you variants.
There's, and this is just a quick sidebar, there's been no notification of what if you ordered 75, but you're getting allocated to 20% less that.
Well, they said based on pre-allocation numbers in the email. So regardless of what you're receiving, if you ordered 75 or more, you're getting one.
So there are stores that, double or tripled their number up to 25.
Right.
They're like, well, we don't get anything.
No, you don't.
Well, no, that's not true.
No.
IDW has said, yeah, everybody who ordered books will get a thank you variant.
Oh, okay.
But they're not specifically saying a red foil thank you.
Oh, that's just the 75.
I think they're making. Well, they haven't announced this. This is me reading into it.
Okay.
I think they're making a regular thank you variant,
a blue
and then
logo,
and then a foil thank you,
an orange logo, a purple logo.
Because the poor IDW rep, who is I think fairly new to the position, came from other publishers.
Okay.
Has to keep responding to all these, and he even had to say, "Hey, these messages or these comments are coming in very fast. I'm afraid of missing them."
Yes. Please stop yelling.
You will get a thank you variant. You will get a thank you variant. You will get a thank you variant. But he stopped saying red foil when that was what they were saying earlier. So I think there is two. This is just I think this is just speculation on my part.
Okay. You don't work for IDW anymore?
No, it was Boom. It was Boom I worked for.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's. I can see people being like, but I could have sold so many more.
Sure.
But you're getting 20% less.
Mm-hmm.
What about my pre-orders?
This is a thing where it's just it is unfortunate, but like yelling about it isn't going to do anything. Like this situation already happened, and some of it happened because of the pandemic. Like, it is absolutely disappointing. I get it. Like, it is lost money for a lot of retailers. I get that too. This was a $9 book. If you were ordering 500 copies and now you're getting 20% less, I mean, yeah, this thing just cost you $900 retail.
Okay.
I mean, it probably cost you profit $500.
I didn't know if that pause was you waiting for me to jump in because I was
waiting. I was waiting for you to be done.
Oh, I was just deleting an email that came in. I wasn't trying to distract you. I'm sorry.
No. I wanted you to be present for this. So yeah,
if I happen to be looking at the screen and a junk email comes in, I'll just delete it now rather than have to delete it later. Sure. But it's rare that I'm actually looking at it when it happens. Okay. Sorry, Alderman Scott Wodgespack. But so yeah, I mean, I do find value in a lot of his emails. I just chose not to read this one.
Sure, you're in the middle of a podcast. I get it. So yeah, I mean, I get retailers being upset about something that's literally costing them money, but what scenario is going to make this right with you that actually can happen using the laws of space-time? Like,
where is your human compassion?
Yeah, sometimes IDW is not happy about this. You think IDW wouldn't want to sell 20% more copies? They sure would. Like, this is going to hurt IDW's bottom line. It's going to hurt their ability to build readership for future issues. It's going to hurt their relationship with the retail community. Like, these are not things that IDW is happy about. And I'm sure there's some conspiracy theorist out there who's like, oh, it's increasing collectability. This book was not in any danger of not selling out anyway.
It was already collectible.
Yeah, people were already excited about it. This helps speculators online and basically nobody else. And I don't think IDW cares that much about speculators online. It's not like there was not buzz about this book. So yeah, it's...
The thing that bothers me about this book that nobody else is talking about, and I already mentioned it earlier, it's trim size. It's a ridiculous size.
It is.
We can't...
What bag and board are you going to put that in? Because everyone's going to ask.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Treasury size?
I don't know, man.
You can... It'll fit in a magazine size. You just can't fold the flap over and tape it shut.
Then it doesn't fit in a magazine size.
It is...
If you can't close the bag, it doesn't fit.
Absurd. Why would you make it this weirdo size? It is... And I was going to say, was all the art done digitally? But they changed artists.
Yeah.
Why is it this trim size?
Yeah.
Who picked this?
Very weird.
I don't get it.
Yeah. If they had just done, like, Black Label European graphic novel size, it'd be like, well...
That's magazine size. Great.
Printers can print that pretty easily. You don't need a ton of lead time. You need the regular FOC window. Yeah, this is... obviously some screw-ups on IDW's end, some things that were out of their control, and this is just the reality that we have. Like, these are the cards we've been dealt. I don't know, man. I'm disappointed, but I'm not mad.
We were talking today with a club member, and the subject of consumer entitlement came up. Mm-hmm. And you and I frequently in the last month have said about people in the store or people in public, have they forgotten there's a pandemic?
Yeah.
Because people are starting to behave.
The expectations people have.
Yes, that's it. And a lot of it you see it when you're on this side of the customer service industry, whatever version that is, and people are just, they're getting fed up. And sure. I get it. We're all, I hope, we're all doing everything we can do to curtail this virus, sure. But I know we're not as a species because numbers are climbing and social media is filled of people going out and having fun and doing things, and it's frustrating when you willingly sacrifice all the things you want to be doing because you know it's the right thing to do, only to watch other people not do it.
Yeah.
And it's one thing when that affects them, but it can also affect you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pandemic. We're kind of all in this together.
And that's the point. And I just said before, where's your compassion? Where's your compassion for your fellow man when the way you treat people in this, it's going to take longer to do things. There are safety protocols. And there's just such a level of entitlement that is increasing. And I don't specifically mean challengers, and I don't mean challengers as in like, oh, everybody's a jerk. But there are, like, I'm constantly nervous because people are not observing the social distancing in the store.
Yeah, Wednesday mornings in particular.
Yeah, and the masks are a thing where, like, all right, we can police that. There was even someone who came in without a mask last week, and he was 4 steps in before even he realized it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah.
But I'm quick to say, hey, can you put your mask above your nose? That kind of thing.
Right.
But for me, it's harder to say, can you guys all spread out?
Yeah. Can
people please just, social distant?
Yeah.
And there'll be times I get too close to someone because I want to say something, but quietly. Mm-hmm. I was going to make a joke there, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. It was a funny joke, but it would have been, I would have just had to pick a random club member name to be at their expense, and I thought, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it would have been, it literally would have been random and not based off of anything.
Sure.
In reality. So yeah, it's not fun to see people treat other people like that. And realistically, we're at the halfway point if everything goes well.
With the pandemic?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, but I mean,
we're at that point.
It's not like it's going to be better next week or next month.
No.
My family has just started to realize, like, oh, all of our holiday traditions have to change dramatically.
Yeah, man. Thanksgiving and Christmas. This is still going to be a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're already trying to figure out, like, oh, we won't do Thanksgiving, and Christmas will be different. And it does take a little bit of the excitement of Christmas out of it. Like, you know me, I've been hoarding Christmas gifts all year.
You do. You buy Christmas gifts all year long.
I do.
It's insane.
And
it's like it's crazy.
The joy of it to me is the giving part, and it's like, oh, I may just, since I'm off Christmas Eve this year, I may just like run over and deliver things and like leave them outside. Be like, yeah, just open it tomorrow.
When is Christmas Eve this year?
Thursday.
Oh, I'm off too then.
I was gonna say December 24th.
Thank you. That would have been unhelpful.
Yeah. But Christmas takes one of your days off, so there.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're already off Christmas?
That's true, I am.
Yeah.
That's fine, though.
I was going to make a joke to my family, like, oh, the 1 year where I don't have to work the day after Christmas, there's no Christmas, but I do have to work the day after Christmas.
You do, yeah.
So it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. You still got to do Black Friday, you still got to do the day after Christmas.
I mean, who cares about Black Friday? It's not a thing. Most stores aren't doing anything for Black Friday.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about, and I say this knowing that you don't have your phone out.
I do have my phone.
And you don't have everything committed to memory.
I mean, I can bring it up real fast.
Future state.
Future states.
I was going to segue into it when we were talking about European trim size.
So real quick, future state. I don't remember the entire thing. Is it about Puerto Rico or Washington, D.C.?
Whichever one comes first.
Is it both? Is it about both?
Whoever comes first.
Super exciting.
Can I just say that I am all for both of those being states?
Yeah.
We as a nation have constantly been growing.
Plus, I feel like taxation without representation was kind of the core tenet that our whole country was based off of, and now we've got 2 states where you do that and you don't have representatives.
And we've been at 50 for so long. Give it to them.
Yeah. And, I mean, not to get into the political thing, but, I mean, there's specific reasons why those are not happening, and it's basically because one political party's like, but that would disadvantage us.
Yeah.
That's it.
Look, if Alaska can be a state, Puerto Rico can be a state.
All right, so let's. I'm getting this straight from the DC Comics mouth at dccomics.com.
So a while ago, DC had planned a shift in their publishing.
There were rumors.
What they were calling 5G, but it wasn't actually going to be called that. That was just an
internal nomenclature.
Yeah, it was going to start with the Free Comic Book Day Generations, and then the way we heard it, it was going to be basically all the DC heroes were going to get replaced by new characters in those costumes. Yeah. And I don't mean new characters, but I mean new people.
Yeah, 2021 was going to be the year of, like, the DC superheroes having brand new legacies, new characters, or new people, again, in the costumes.
Theoretically, that is the entire reason Jonathan Kent was aged up.
Yeah, and the rumors were that DC, as a publisher, was looking to do something a little bit more representative of its readership. Something that was more diverse, something that was less beholden to kind of classic designs and characters from the 1950s and 60s. Then they fired one of their publishers, or he quit. I don't know if there was ever a specific answer to that question.
Then Dan DiDio left the company.
Yeah, or was pushed out.
But I mean, he still left.
He did. He didn't.
I didn't say under his own power.
He didn't barricade himself in his office.
Right.
No, true. Agreed. And the rumors that were coming out was that there was basically and this isn't necessarily relevant to what we're going to be talking about, but it maybe indicates why some people are not involved. There was a level of their creators that was not happy with the plans for 5G, and that was part of the reason why Dan DiDio was no longer really welcome within editorial, that there was such a pushback against the plan for 5G that not only was it not going to happen, but he did not have the faith of a level of creators within the company. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all speculation.
It's total speculation.
We're just...
But it fills in some of the blanks for kind of why that didn't happen after Dan DiDio was gone.
You're not somebody's crazy uncle. Why are you perpetuating these things? Why are you passing them on?
This is just something someone else said, and I'm just amplifying it. It's not me. I don't bear any responsibility for that. Anyway, so come to it. We have an announcement from DC. DC Future State gives fans a look at the future of the DC Universe this January. So the nuts and bolts is this January and February, DC is suspending publication of all of its normal DC superhero titles in favor of Future State books, of which there will be 4 bi-weekly Future State titles, a few 4-issue bi-weekly DC Future State titles, and a few 2-issue monthly DC Future State miniseries.
And a whole bunch of one-shots.
And some of these books, I think maybe all of the bi-weekly ones, will be put together from a family of characters, and so there will be maybe like a lead story and 2 backups. And those backups might rotate. So the thing about DC Future State and the way it seems like it's being put together feels not only as though they're just running with whatever material had been produced or commissioned and just kind of getting it out of their drawers, but also really, really, really built around digital.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if when we see these pages, they don't just 100% look like, DC Batman Adventures Continues, where it's like, oh, this is 2 iPad-sized pages that are just being layered on top of each other, because that's how all of this feels like. It's so cobbled together from a bunch of different things that it doesn't feel like it's got real clear lanes for itself. It's just, here's a bunch of stuff. Just a bunch of characters.
I do think it's not entirely stuff that they had laying around. I think they added a lot more. Okay. Because there's a lot of creators that they've announced that weren't part of what they were doing before. Okay. And a lot of newer voices and a lot of, I don't know, more marginalized creators maybe. Sure. And I think that, the fact that there's no Dan Jurgens, or Brett Booth, or...
that said, and I don't want to name names, but there are a bunch of creators here where it's the equivalent of the people who would do like an Empire miniseries at Marvel.
Yeah, there's definitely that.
It's that class of writers at DC where it's like, boy, if you're expecting this to be a bunch of like Scott Snyder and Jeff Johns, and like you're going to be disappointed. It is not those creators at all.
I think it's great that like the Wonder Woman 3-parter is written and drawn by Joelle Jones.
Is it written and drawn by Joelle Jones? Oh, I gotta look.
And the Becky Cloonan's writing multiple stories.
True.
Also, one of the variant covers they showed off for the Joelle...
Wait, what?
Wonder Woman is Jenny Frison. It's like you're making me choose between Joelle and Jenny. How dare you?
Oh, yeah, okay, I see it now. Future State Wonder Woman by Joelle Jones. Monthly miniseries and one-shots.
Yeah, because there's a different Wonder Woman book as well.
Right, that's what
which is what you saw first.
There's technically two... Well, there's Immortal Wonder Woman, which has stuff by Becky Cloonan, and it's got the Nubia stories in it by other creators. Yeah. And that's the stuff I was thinking of. I don't even remember all this, to be perfectly honest with you, which we'll go over in detail. So, I mean, this is very similar in DC's publishing model to something like Convergence, where it's like...
It is exactly Convergence.
Here's the thing, it's going to go on for a couple months. I don't know if it's spelling other creators or just creating a break in the storytelling so they can do other stuff. My pessimistic mindset is that this is coming at exactly the time where they're kind of running out of stuff from before Warner Media made huge changes to their editorial structure and budget. So I would expect not everything that was published in December to come back in March.
So do you think March is full of number ones?
Probably. I mean, not everything. I don't think that they'll necessarily, like, everything gets into number one. I don't think that's their plan, but, I mean, maybe. Honestly, maybe. I don't know what that company's doing these days. Nothing would surprise me. I wouldn't be surprised to see Batman number 107, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a brand new Batman number 1.
So let me, before you get into this list, let me ask you questions as a retailer. Number one, they don't mention prices or formats or sizes.
They sure don't.
So I think it's going to be across the board.
Here's a sentence. Through February 2021, the full title lineup will feature a combination of monthly and twice-monthly oversized anthologies, as well as monthly schedule of miniseries and one-shots. So I'm going to assume that anything that is... Like, there's the bigger titles that we'll be talking about, and those are going to be probably like... And they even used phrases like Batman Family and Superman Family, where it's like, these are going to have multiple stories in them and probably be at a higher price point than a traditional single-issue DC
for sure.
superhero
But
comic.
do you think any of them will be like Black Label trim size?
I don't think so. I think they're all going to be regular comic size. Nothing in here makes me
Admittedly,
think that
when you say oversized, they mean a thicker page count than
count.
20 pages. Yeah. But I also think maybe they mean it's a different size.
I don't think so. I mean, all the covers that they're showing in here are basic comic size. So, I mean, there could be stuff that's going to be oversized, but I don't know.
I am super worried about how to order these things.
Well, here's one of the good things that DC was doing for retailers. They're all returnable.
Yeah, no, that's great. That is great, but you're still putting the money up front.
Yeah, but it gives me some confidence. And knowing DC nowadays, they mean full copy return.
Yeah.
You are shipping all of these back to them. This is not affidavit or covers. You are boxing up unsold books, which can be Not
costly?
super costly, but it can be awkward and a little costly.
We won't be copying anything over.
No, because it's too difficult
It's too different.
I mean, there clearly is a Batman book and then a kind of detective book, but it's so tenuous that I would feel like if you're reading, Peter Tomasi's detective comics, I don't know that as great as I think it's going to be, Dark Detective is the book that you're going to be looking to follow up on. So we are going to have to do both a print sign-up sheet like we were talking about a few weeks ago with the Marvel Now stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you are getting nothing unless you sign up on this sheet, which we had to do for things like the villain one-shots and Convergence. Like, there's just too little to feel comfortable matching to. But we'll also do, and I got to work on this, we'll probably do a Google form that I will email the link to all of our subscribers saying, if you just want to do it online, do it this way. But we're going to have to do both to make sure we get everybody.
Yeah.
And thankfully...
You just want to send everybody a link to DC Connect?
Right. Thankfully, this is probably going to be something we're going to have to deal with in November, which is way better than having to deal with it in December when no one's coming into the store.
Yes.
So at least we will have numbers and people coming in to press them for numbers instead of just having to take a wild guess. Even though that said, I'm looking at this, I'm like, I can tell you the numbers right now for most of these, what I think we're going to need to order.
I would appreciate you telling me that since I do the DC.
Spoiler, they're lower than most DC books. I say that, but here's the thing. Like, we have the range of our DC orders now are anything as high as like 85 I'm talking about monthly and bi-monthly DC superhero comics, not special events or miniseries.
Right.
As high as like 80 and as low as like, well, technically 0, but like 5 or 6. I think the band for these books is going to be more like 20 to 50.
Okay.
I think the floor is going to be a lot higher and the ceiling is going to be a lot lower.
Yeah. Yep.
I think there's going to be more interest in stuff that, frankly, was already canceled, like Harley Quinn, because people are going to want to see, what is this weirdo Harley Quinn book? And they're more likely to want to sample it if they know it's a limited duration. As opposed to, like, I don't think Next Batman is going to sell James Tynion Batman numbers. I just don't.
Right.
Especially, and honestly, because of the fact that it's of a limited duration. If they were doing a brand new, here is a new Batman and he's a black guy, I think their numbers would be way higher than a regular Batman book. But because this is like, it's a future storyline, it's not necessarily canon.
It's 4 issues.
It's only for 2 months. I think people are going to treat that in the same way they would like a What If or a Dark Multiverse book.
Yeah,
where it's there will be interest, but not nearly as much.
That's literally all these are. It's the potential future of the DC universe.
Yeah. So let's delve into it. Here's the beginning.
All this ties out of that, I don't know, Winter Frost Night or whatever it's called.
No,
right?
Metal.
No, I was making a joke.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that too.
I thought you could figure that out by the way I called it Winter Frost Night.
No, I said not what it's called. DC is starting 2021 off with a bang, giving fans a glimpse into futures both near and far, full of current and new characters as the publisher announced plans today for DC Future State, a 2-month line-wide event beginning in January. Through February 2021, the full title lineup will feature a combination of monthly and twice-monthly oversized anthologies, as well as a monthly schedule of miniseries and one-shots. DC Future State spotlights the world's greatest superheroes, all capitalized, in fresh new roles with all new characters taking up their iconic mantles. DC Future State features an incredible array of creative talent, combining award-winning writers and artists with new voices from the worlds of TV, movies, and animation. In March 2021, the regular DC lineup resumes, continuing existing storylines from 2020 and introducing new arcs for the year. So yeah, they probably will not be renumbering. In DC Future State, the multiverse has been saved from the brink of destruction, but the triumph of DC's heroes has shaken loose the very fabric of time and space. The final chapter of Dark Knight's Death Metal, on sale January 5th, 2021, brings new life to DC's multiverse, kicking off this glimpse into the unwritten worlds of DC's future. A quote from Marie Javins, that doesn't really matter. A stellar array of writers and artists are on hand to deliver this unique look at beloved DC characters, including fan favorites such as Marco Tamaki, Brian Michael Bendis, Gene Yang, Joelle Jones, Josh Williamson, Nicola Scott, Cully Hamner, and John Timms, along with new voices such as award-winning screenwriter John Ridley.
How's he a new voice?
Brandon Vietti, Megan Fitzmartin, Brandon Easton, Aletha Martinez, L.L. McKinney, Paula Sevenbergen, and Sia Oam, among others. Here's the books, and basically they're breaking them down into Batman, Superman, and everything else. Batman family. In this future, Gotham City is controlled by the Magistrate, capital M Magistrate. This villainous regime has taken control of the city, now under constant surveillance. All masked vigilantes have been outlawed and Batman has been killed. But led by an all-new Batman, a new assembly of Gotham's Guardians rise to give hope to all those who lost it. The oversized books are Future State Next Batman 1 through 4 and Future State Dark Detective 1 through 4. Next Batman has The Next Batman by John Ridley and Nick Darrington, alongside Outsiders, Arkham Knights, Batgirls, and Gotham City Sirens. Dark Detective has my honest, most anticipated thing from this entire thing. Dark Detective by Mark Tamaki and Dan Mora, and I assume Tamara Bonvillian, because they killed it in their Detective 1027 story.
Dan Mora did a lot of the costume designs for these.
He did. One of the main cover images, or main images that they're using to promote this, is a Dan Mora, all of the characters.
Yeah,
image.
Your standard Ivan Rice, but by Dan Mora.
Yeah, but anyway, Dark Detective has Dark Detective, plus Grifters and Red Hood as its backup stories. The monthly miniseries for the Batman family are Batman Superman by Gene Yang and Ben Oliver, Catwoman by Ram V and Otto Schmidt, Harley Quinn by Stephanie Phillips and Simone DeMio, who is apparently doing 1 billion books in the next year. I don't know how Harley Quinn is happening alongside We Only Find Them When They're Dead and Champions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Champions was a miniseries and done months ago.
I hope it was.
Yeah.
Nightwing by Andrew Constant and Nicholas Scott, and Robin Eternal by Megan Fitzmartin and Eddie Burrows. Patrick, thoughts on the Batman family? Anything jump out at you?
This whole thing, it sounds like fun flights of fancy, but hard to get people to maybe financially invest into. I'm also excited for the Marco Tamaki. I love the idea of Nicola Scott doing
Nightwing?
any Bat book.
Sure.
I mean, didn't she do like an issue of Detective in the last year?
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like that, I'm all for. And I like, when I was a kid, DC had a lot of these, Superman family, Batman family, these giant anthology books, like these 100-page family giants, and I think that could be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know why it has to be, I was going to say pretend.
Non-canon?
Yeah. And, I mean, it doesn't matter. Good story is a good story, but...
Honestly, the future part of it is the thing that tempers my enthusiasm across all of this. I don't care if it's like 10 years in the future. Oh, cool, I can ignore this then.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No.
But I'm a little worried that every book is going to be called Future State Batman, Future State blah, blah, blah. Like, so when you go to look it up, you're going to have to weed through 40 different titles to find what you want.
At least they called it a name and not a number, like all those Iron Man 2020 books that made it impossible to find anything.
Yeah. Why couldn't it just be the next Batman, Future State? So you could still search by Future State if you wanted to, but then it's alphabetical by title. Although that'd be under N for next Batman.
It's going to be real fun to find spots for all of these books in January and February when they're all going to go under F for Future State. It's going to be a fun part of an entire bank of the wall.
The has yet to be released bad idea section and just use it.
It's not nearly enough space.
I know, it's not. It really isn't. It really isn't.
I mean, we're talking about like basically 40 books, and it's like, well, that's 1/8 of our wall space.
I mean, you'd have to just put them, Batman with Batman, Detective with Detective.
They're all going to go under F for Future State because it's. I feel like
more like Futile State. Am I right? More like FU State.
Moving on, Superman family. Due to his involvement in an international crisis happening in the near future, Clark Kent has been rejected by Earth, causing him to focus his life-saving efforts outside his adopted home. He travels to War World to rise through the ranks of gladiatorial combat in order to defeat Mongol with the help of some unlikely heroes.
Not more Mongol stories.
Back in Metropolis, Clark's son John has taken on the mantle of Superman. After seeing the horrors that befell Gotham, he bottles Metropolis in order to keep it safe, putting him at odds with Supergirl. Connecting the two oversized Future State Superman titles, Shiloh Norman, the man known as Mr. Miracle, finds himself caught between the city he grew up in and the battle-torn planet that could be his downfall. Meanwhile, in the Amazon rainforest, Yara Flor is chosen to be the new Wonder Woman. Years later, the new Superman and Wonder Woman... Years later, what? The new Superman and Wonder Woman join forces to save their cities in a new superhero team-up, the likes of which the world has never seen. So right there, the idea that, like, cool, so one of these books is going to be happening even years later than the other books in this line.
Yeah.
And then it's just the general, like, oh, the Superman family is Superman, and then since most of those characters can't support a book, I don't know, how about Wonder Woman 2? And Mr. Miracle? Why not?
I'm all for more Shiloh Norman stuff.
So the oversized books, this is the monthly one. Future State Superman of Metropolis, which includes Superman of Metropolis by Sean Lewis and John Timms. Guardian story with art by Cully Hamner and Mr. Miracle. Superman Worlds of War is the...
Get it? It's like World... It's like War World?
Sure. Plus, I think they did a Worlds of War miniseries. Is a 4-issue bi-weekly anthology series with Worlds of War by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Mikkel Janin. Midnighter, written by Becky Cloonan, Black Racer, and Mr. Miracle. They also have the monthly Immortal Wonder Woman, which has Immortal Wonder Woman, written by Becky Cloonan, and then the Nubia Stories, monthly miniseries and one-shots. House of L by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Scott Godalewski. It's a one-shot, which I guess means everything else that was a monthly miniseries or one-shot for Batman is a monthly miniseries. Kara Zor-El Superwoman by Marguerite Bennett and Marguerite Sauvage. That's a really great team that happens to both be named Marguerite. Legion of Superheroes by Brian Bendis and Riley Rossmo. Superman Wonder Woman by Dan Waters and Leila Del Duca. Superman vs. Imperious Lex by Mark Russell and Steve Pugh. It's a 3-issue series that's going to run all the way to March 21.
Those guys are a good team.
And that should be fun. And Wonder Woman by Joel Jones. Patrick, thoughts on the Superman family?
Going back to the Batman family just for a second, okay. I'm not excited when the current writer is doing the future stuff as well, like Ram V on Catwoman and Brian Michael Bendis on Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah, that's true.
I want someone different.
You want new voices.
And while I did just say, oh, Mark Russell and Steve Pugh are a great team together, yeah, but they're doing something different.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think they've done like Lex-style stuff before, so it's a good fit for them.
Yeah.
Justice League family. The thread of great change runs through the Justice League heroes. A new league is built upon secret...
This whole thing is great change.
A new league is built upon secret identities, even from each other. But an old and evolved enemy will use these secrets to try and overthrow the world. For the supernatural heroes of Justice League Dark, the very fabric of reality has shifted and heroes are being hunted. For Flash, Shazam, and the Teen Titans, it all begins when the 4 Riders of the Apocalypse unleash hell in a battle at Titans Academy. Barry Allen is cut off from the Speed Force.
Is this what happens to Apocalypse children after Ten of Swords?
Yeah, especially because a famine-controlled Wally West may be beyond saving. And Billy Batson makes a deal with the devil that will change Shazam forever. Off-world, Jon Stewart and the remaining Green Lanterns are stranded in the shadow of a dead power battery. Jackson Hyde and Andy Curry are separated across the galaxy. And Amanda Waller...
Sorry, who are those two people?
Aqua people. And Amanda Waller executes her ultimate plan with a new and terrifyingly familiar Suicide Squad on Earth 3. At the end of time, Swamp Thing reveals its true intention, ruling supreme until a remnant of humanity launches a rebellion, and Black Adam looks to the past as the only way to save the future of the multiverse. These are oversized monthly Justice League, which includes Justice League by Josh Williamson and Justice League Dark by Ram V. Green Lantern, which is a 2-issue monthly series. Last Lanterns by Jeff Thorne and Tom Rainey, and Tales of the Green Lantern Corps. Suicide Squad, which is a 2-issue monthly series. Suicide Squad by Robbie Thompson and Javi Fernandez, and a Black Adam story. Monthly miniseries Aquaman by Brandon Thomas and Daniel Sampere. The Flash by Brandon Vietti and Dale Eaglesham. Teen Titans by Tim Sheridan and Rafa Sandoval. Shazam by Tim Sheridan and Eduardo Pensica.
Tim Sheridan's getting a lot of work here.
And Swamp Thing by the many aforementioned Ram V and Mike Perkins. That's it. That's the whole slate. That's everything.
Well, hold on. You didn't ask me my question, my thoughts on this.
Yeah, I was about
batch.
to. Patrick, thoughts on the Justice League family?
Once again, you have Ram V doing Justice League Dark, which he's currently doing.
Yes, true.
I'm excited for Tom Rainey doing a Green Lantern book. That'll be fun.
Sure. I mean, there's good people working on this. There's some fun artists. Cully Hamner's doing a Guardian story.
Yeah,
that's
Cully
cool.
Hamner doesn't ever do enough interior work.
That's true.
And when he does, it's Batman and the Signal. There were Josh Williamson is currently writing Justice League, so that's such a stretch there.
Yeah.
It's like there's. I feel like this is way too broad of a thing to say, but there's good, there's bad, and there's unknown.
Yeah, again, I mean, this isn't anything where I'm looking at the roster and saying, God damn, like, this is a home run, everyone's going to want this. There's stuff I like, and there's stuff I think is good. Again, Joel Jones get to do stuff, Becky Cloonan writing stuff.
Right.
But at the same time, those are creators where I look at their track record and go, they don't sell that great. I mean, how great was Joel's Catwoman book selling, you know what I mean?
Started out strong, but also
that was on the back of the wedding stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Once you start looking at issues 6 and 7, it's like, look, it's selling well. I'm happy with, that number to the degree that I think that's what DC stuff for a certain tier is likely to sell. It wasn't underselling what I thought it was capable of, but it's not again, these are not home run numbers. like I said to start with this, there's nothing in here that's going to be selling what Batman sells. Like, I don't see anything in here where we're going to get the kind of orders that tell us, yes, this is going to be selling on par with Death Metal, with Doomsday Clock, with Batman, with, you know, any of those books. Like, it's not, none of this is that stuff. But there's stuff that, again, Teen Titans, we weren't even carrying for, like, the shelf anymore.
Right.
And we will
for this.
And we will be carrying a few for the shelf. So right there, that number went up some. But overall, I think this is going to be a couple months where it's like, yeah, our DC numbers are going to be down. That we are not going to be selling as many DC comics in January and February as we will in November and December. Just won't.
I wonder how many new things they're going to be announcing for February. So anything we put up now is not a complete list?
I don't think the future state stuff will change. I think.
Well, what about the one-shots? There's a whole bunch of one-shots you just listed.
But they didn't specify what month some of these one-shots are coming out in. So some of them might be January, some of them might be February.
I fully expect there to be more because it always hurts us when we try to do a comprehensive, here's everything you can add to your list.
But for a 2-month DC thing, I think they have to have an idea of what's already in the slate. Like, this isn't not like a 6-month storyline where they're going to, in month 4, go, oh, there's room in the schedule, let's shovel in a couple more. It seems like they're pretty much locked in, one way or another, either through having the schedule already planned out and not really having extra weeks suddenly appear, or just this work mostly being done already and it's not like they can commission more of it or are prepared to commission more of it.
Do you think they'll eventually do a future state anthology where they'll take the best-selling properties and put them in a book?
I don't know about an anthology, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do some sort of miniseries spinning out of this where they give it another run, or similar to like the Lois and Clark story they did, Superman and Lois, whatever they called it, where something that is non-canon becomes canon.
Yeah.
Because there's just interest in it. Like, if Luke Fox is the new Batman, it wouldn't shock me if some version of that maintained into 2021, like into later in the year. Failing that, I think, depending on the reception and where that reception lies, doing more, like, digital stories for Future State would not surprise me. Like, doing those as digital firsts. That's their publishing strategy going forward.
Do you think it hurts the idea of Luke Fox as Batman to call that book the next Batman?
Yes.
And not just Batman?
Yes. I think in general, whenever you do the thing of like, well...
when there's a qualifier?
Yeah, exactly. When he's not Batman, he's a Batman or whatever. It's like, well, now it's diminished.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, at least Miles Morales was Spider-Man.
Especially because you look at Dark Detective and it's like, I mean, kind of looks like Bruce Wayne's running around Gotham City. Yeah. Like, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a different guy that looks exactly like Bruce Wayne. But, yeah...
it's his brother.
Yeah. Matches Malone is the new Batman. There you go. Yeah, it's surprising that they're even touching any of the 5G stuff where it seemed like that was radioactive at that company.
Yeah, that was completely verboten. Like, that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
Get out.
So, I mean, it could just be like a financial thing of like, well, again, we already commissioned this stuff. So we might as well see it through just to get money from it.
Hey, we don't know what we're doing. Let's just throw a stopgap in.
Yeah, which again really feels like a thing where it's like you need something in the same way that they were moving. Like having a couple months where this stuff is kind of already allocated and settled probably gives them a little bit of breathing room as far as like approaching March as not a clean slate, but something where they can tweak it a lot more than suddenly having this shift between like, oh, there's 25% less books being published between 1 month and the next.
It's just that if you look at all those Convergence books, those were immediately 99-cent fodder.
Oh my god, yes.
And I feel bad if this is the first major thing that Marie Javins does, whether it is her idea or it is forced upon her.
Sure.
I don't want that to be like, oh, well, this is bad.
Yeah, I frankly, I mean, just looking at it, it's not a campaign that I have a ton of confidence in for a variety of reasons. Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of stuff that usually, if you're lucky, is a curiosity to enough folks that you can not lose money doing it. But this is not going to be a gangbuster month for us in DC, January or February. No. Like, it's going to be down.
And while I'm not saying it's going to be a failure, I think that it could still be a success and still be a disappointing success.
Yeah.
Financially.
I don't know what metric I would judge it by where it could be qualified as a success. I think nearly anything I would use would be like, no, it's a failure. Like, regardless of what they're planning, like, this is not going to make anybody a lot of money. So no, it's it is not a good idea. Like, frankly, yeah, if I had the option right now, like, would you rather see the regular DC slate continue in January, or would you rather have Future State, the regular DC slate? No argument. Like, yeah. I would not have to think long and hard about that and weigh it against a lot of different things. I would gladly take Batman 107 than I would the next Batman #1. And maybe I'll be wrong on this. Like, maybe we're going to get 25 people tomorrow who are going to email us saying, I got to get down for that Batman book. And that's on top of the, dozens of people that ordinarily get Batman.
Well, I mean, if they're not automatically going to get it, they have to tell us.
Right, but I mean, the people who would automatically be of interest,
yeah,
like, be interested in a Batman book. Like,
see, that's
maybe this is a Last Ronin situation where people who are like, I have not read a Batman comic in 20 years. I heard about the next Batman. I got to be down for it. Which is, the thing that kills me is that ostensibly the main thing that you have to promote the next Batman with is he's black now. And they're still playing coy with it.
Yeah.
They're still like, maybe he's a person of color. Like, that's your whole thing. Like, the only thing that makes it interesting is, what if he's black now? If he's not, if it's just some other guy, or if it's still Bruce Wayne, but he's pretending he's dead, it's like, none of this matters. There's no interest at that point.
But you mentioned the people that would automatically be interested in a Batman book, but they're only interested in Batman. They're not interested in a Batman book.
I think they would be interested in, like, there's a lot of people.
I mean, my comparison is Batman versus Detective Comics.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean,
if Detective Comics was the only book, fine, it would have Batman numbers, but it's not. And so there's still Dark Detective. There's the next Batman. Neither one of those is Batman. Well, so I think that a lot of the regular Batman subscribers we have, or readers,
they're going to skip it.
Are going to skip it.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I said that I thought the ceiling for Future State was like 50 copies, I mean that for next Batman, and I also want to indicate that would put us under subscription numbers for Batman.
Yes, significantly.
So that is basically saying outright that a large percentage of people who currently subscribe to Batman do not care if it is not called Batman. Like, a bunch of them will still be interested, but a lot of them are like, if it's not Batman 107 or Batman #1, they're just going to skip it for 2 months.
Yeah.
And they'll come back when Batman 107 comes out. And it's a continuation of the James Tynion storyline. Like, this gives them the license to basically not buy DC Comics for 2 months. And I don't know if that's a license you want to give people.
It's not one I want to give them.
Which is why storylines like this, doing events like this, are always such a gamble. Is you're taking your entire line and you're saying, oh, you can, if you read our books, you can just skip these 2 months.
What if they took this slate of Future State books, rather than cram them out in 2 months, spread it over 4, but in those extra months, still gave you Batman, still gave you Justice League.
And this is the kind
Not everything, but just enough.
Well, this is kind of the damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. That would actually be worse for sales.
For
Future State.
Yeah.
It'd be okay for us in that we'd still have Batman to sell, but it would make people way less inclined to pick up Future State because it's just a miniseries now. It's a lot of miniseries, and why would you care? By making it the only DC book, they're kind of making people say, look, if you want to buy any DC stuff for 2 months, it's going to be these books. And there are some dyed-in-the-wool DC fans who are like, yes, I only buy DC stuff. I only care about these concepts. Not even these characters, but these concepts. So I will do this for a couple months. And there's people who are like, just going to be curious. That they occasionally check in with some of these characters, but they're like, Future State sounds intriguing to me. I will try that out. The problem is those numbers are not nearly as big as the people who buy Batman every month. They're just not. That is a much smaller group of people. And certainly, like, going into January and not having books like Death Metal running anymore, like that's going to be another hit to your numbers. At least you got Black Label stuff, ostensibly. I mean, you still have, I think an issue of Strange Adventures, and you'll have Rorschach, and you'll have, I don't know what Sweet Tooth is going to sell, but Sweet Tooth. You'll have stuff. But
so Tom King.
Basically Tom King, who, again, not participating in the storyline. You'll have Batman Catwoman, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, you should.
You should, if it's Black Label. This is a situation that doing it this way is the best of a bad situation, but it's a self-inflicted bad situation. There's no one making them do this kind of event. There's no pressure from the industry to do Future State. They could have just easily gone, no, we're not doing it. and kept on making other comic books that they know they have an audience for. It's not great. I hope the books are good, and we'll certainly order them. And if anything is good, we'll tell people, and we'll promote them as we feel appropriate.
Yeah, we're not going to sabotage it. Certainly not.
But no,
I mean, this is our livelihood.
This is the opposite of a Last Ronin, where I'm like, oh my god, everyone's going to want this. This is like fewer people are going to want this.
Who's going to want this?
Some people will. Again, we've done enough month-long events and multi-month events from DC that are similar to this that we know kind of what to expect, good and bad.
Well, speaking of the bad, of what you expect as retail, I'm going to tell this quick story just because I had put it up on Instagram and some people were aware of it and were asking questions. Last Saturday, I was working by myself, and we've talked a few times about our new security camera setup, and it's very helpful for when you are by yourself at the counter. And I noticed a gentleman's stealing some action figures, or trying to steal some action figures.
Yeah, stealing them but doing it badly.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, I guess stealing is the wrong word because they got caught. They didn't steal. That was an argument we had with police years ago.
Attempted theft?
Yeah, it's only attempted theft because you caught them. No, it's theft. No, it's attempted theft.
Yeah, one of the things that we were told way back in the day was it's not even technically theft until they leave the store.
Yeah.
So if someone puts something in their bag but doesn't approach the counter
they have
or
to be
exit
past
the store,
the last point of purchase.
Yeah. They could still buy it, so it's not technically theft.
So I watched this person on the camera put some things in their bag, and at the time, again, I was working by myself, and there were two different families, parents and children, in Sidekicks. And I was a little concerned because I can't chase anybody right now. So I went to confront the person.
If they were stationary, you could.
Yeah.
Like
you could chasing if they don't move, is it?
You could quickly walk up to them if it's a very short distance.
And I didn't want to call the police because I did not want these families' experience at the store to be police showing up.
Yeah, you don't want kids to be traumatized.
Even if it's like, oh, we caught somebody, that's a bad look. And this is from the guy that always wanted to call the police to have the person be punished.
Right. I mean, you don't want to be the restaurant where someone's story is and they put out a fire.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, great, but there was a fire.
And so I walked up to this person, and I used most of my lines were taken from Notting Hill, where Hugh Grant's character owned a travel bookshop, and Dylan Moran from Black Books was a character named Rufus who stole a book. And this was right when Hugh Grant was talking to Julia Roberts for the first time as she was in the store. He had to excuse himself because he watched Rufus put a book down his pants. So he walked up to him and he said, and he clasped his hand in that very British way, "Bad news, I'm afraid. We have cameras in this part of the store. I'm going to need that copy of whatever the book was.
Travel book.
Back. And one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to take it out of your pants, ideally wipe it down, and then buy it, or put it back on the shelf." And then he walked away to let him do whatever he did. So I walked up and I said, "Bad news, we've got cameras in this part of the store. I'm going to need those things back." So I adapted it as much as I could.
You got to live Notting Hill,
but it was
just for a moment.
But there was no Julia Roberts waiting.
He was your Julia Roberts.
No. He was my.
That's
he was
right.
my Dylan Moran.
Rufus.
Yeah, he was my Dylan Moran.
Was the Deadpool life-size standee your Julia Roberts?
No.
Pardon me, Deadpool.
So he immediately knew he was busted, and he took a few steps back, and I'm like, "Where's this going?" So he could rest his bag on a shelf to be able to root through it. And I'll be honest, I didn't see everything he stole, but so he pulls out a Batman animated series Etrigan Clarion 2-pack,
which is large. To
which somebody else commented, "Geez, you should just give it to him. Nobody can sell those." I'm like, yeah, to make it worse, we have two of them.
Yeah.
And then he pulled out a Marvel Legends. It was one of the Age of Apocalypse figures.
Okay.
I think it was Rachel Summers one of them?
Jean Grey?
Jean Grey, sure.
The Sugar Man face?
I don't, whatever.
If there was a giant face inside the box.
I mean, I know that's what it was. I assume.
Sure, let's say Jean Grey.
And then a Peter Capaldi Doctor Who minifigure. Mm-hmm. And I thought, nobody's choosing these things. He's just stealing to steal.
Yeah.
And then I said, because I couldn't see his bag, I'm like, hey man, I'm going to see everything else in that bag. And he said, baloney. And I said, excuse me? Not like, how dare you, but like, what did you say? So he reaches into his backpack and pulls out an entire package of bologna. And not like an Oscar Mayer one, but like it had a red band around it, but like a sealed container of bologna. And I thought, did he steal this somewhere else? Or is this his lunch? Or he's just showing me, like, this is all I have left in here?
I mean, it really could be any of those. I think he stole it.
Yeah. So I said, all right, man, you can keep that. Obviously, you know that you are immediately leaving the store, and you are never, ever allowed back in here. And he turned, and he walked out, and the families had no idea what was happening. Mm-hmm. And as I was relating the story to Dal later, he perfectly described the person, and then punctuated with, yeah, I kicked him out and banned him for stealing before.
Yep. Also action figures.
Yeah. Yep.
Also cameras.
Yeah. So he's still going to come back in.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And he'll get caught again.
Yeah. That's one of the things that is the most idiotic to me about this is he got caught stealing in a store, and so he went back to that store and stole in almost the exact same way that he got caught the first time.
When I was working downtown,
what is supposed to be different?
And you and I both think he may have developmental issues.
Yeah, I mean, this is somebody who I don't know that they know that they're stealing or that they have the ability to moderate their impulses against it. So I don't.
Number one,
as much as I find this frustrating, and we could have substantially lost money from this. I mean, Etrigan, we put money into it, even though no one's ever going to buy it. There is still a sense of like, I don't know that this guy is someone that I want to be antagonistic about or specifically angry at. Do you know what I mean?
Several people had Etrigan jokes, but nobody had said, "Gone, gone, thief! You've now been banned. Put back that demon Etrigan."
That's a good one.
Literally just saw that right now.
That's really good.
Thanks. So on the one hand, it's like, yeah, the system works and we caught somebody and blah, blah, blah. But you almost felt bad. Like, yeah, I'm not helping him. I'm not getting him help. I'm just making him someone else's problem.
But at the same time, like, the most you can do is say, please don't come back here again.
Right. But had I called the police, like, that wouldn't have helped him either.
Oh, God, no. Yeah, that's why I didn't do it. You know, you got the stuff back. This is someone who does not feel like they... I mean, we've had people that are horrible. Like, those 3 guys who came in.
Oh, yeah.
And just wrecked the place on the way out and called us racist.
Yeah.
Like, I got no fondness for those guys whatsoever. I don't feel like I need to do them any favors. But this guy, it's like, I don't know what his deal is, and I am only comfortable having him not be in the store. Like, that's as much as I want to feel responsible for.
Yeah. When I was working downtown, there was a homeless guy named Eddie who had issues, and he would blatantly steal because I think he wanted to go to jail because at least he had
roof over his head.
Yeah, and food and you know, something to eat. And and I think I told this story before. I don't remember if I did or not, but there was a point where he was stealing, and the guy I was working with, Keith, who was related to one of the owners, ran out after him. And because the way the store is situated, there was an entrance on Wabash and an entrance on Madison. So if that ever happened and somebody went one way, I'd always go the other way in case they come around. Yeah. So I go all the way around, and what had happened was Keith had caught up to him by the elevators, and right there is a security guard office for the building. Mm-hmm. So there's security guards right there. And he called for security, and security came out. But as Keith had grabbed Eddie's backpack, Eddie just turned around and punched him right in the face.
Oof.
Yeah, but Keith never let go.
Sure.
So Eddie got taken away, and I let Keith go home because of his injury.
Sure.
But then security guard Harold called me in the office, and they had at the point, it wasn't a digital display, but it had like a click wheel. and he just played the punch in the face back and forward and back and forward and back and forth. And we laughed a whole lot.
Sure.
And I apologize for that, but it was so funny.
Sure. Have you ever been punched in the face? And I'm not leading into me punching you in the face.
Gosh, I when I was younger in fights, yeah.
But not as an adult?
No, not as an adult.
I got punched in the face by someone trying to mug me.
You did, and you held onto your phone.
Yeah, like that was the thing about being punched in the face to me. It's because it was like, it was not a, like, it was like maybe an older teenager.
Yeah.
Like someone who's probably in like the 17 to 19-year-old range. It was more a surprise than anything else. Even though like it gave me a black eye and it screwed up my glasses. All I can remember from that situation was just like not any pain or discomfort, just this dude just ran up and punched me in the face and is trying to take my phone out of my hand. Like, actually, it was in my pocket, I think, because he's like, I was
texting Jimmy P.S. Hayes about Transformers.
I don't remember who I was texting.
Oh, no, I'm telling you.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I was coming from the Walgreens, so it was across North Avenue. And it was wintertime, so I had a coat on.
And this was like a new iPhone 8 or something?
It was, no, God, how many years ago was it? 7 years ago, probably? So whatever came out then.
Okay.
So iPhones were
you were blatantly flaunting your shiny...
I was flaunting it to the
new
world.
Expensive toy.
I was texting as I was crossing the street. And this is, I swear to God, this is the line because it sounds so fake. And I remember thinking at the time, who says that? I'm on one side of the street. On the other side, I hear somebody coming from the corner, and they go, "Hey, dog, let me see that phone." And they use the word dog, and that's stuck in my brain because it's like, even 7 years ago, it's like, who says dog? The answer is apparently teenage muggers.
Yeah.
Who will then, as you're like...
Attempted muggers.
As you're like, let me see... Like, I turn, and he's already crossing the street, and then punches me right in the face. My phone is in my my coat pocket at this point, because I had finished texting. But he had seen me when I was crossing the street with it. And I'm like 40 feet off of North Avenue. Like, I'm on a busy intersection, and this is not like the dead of night. It's like just after sundown, maybe?
Yeah, it was still dark, though.
Yeah, so this was an attack of opportunity. This dude wanted a phone, saw me with it, and ran up and punched me in the face. And the whole thing is him basically kind of grabbing onto my coat, and him telling me that he wants my phone, and I just keep repeating what he's saying, but in a questioning voice, because I kind of can't believe it's happening. Like, give me that phone. Give you my phone? Like, what is happening? He threatened to, I can't remember if it was stab me or shoot me, but it was also ridiculous by that point that I just repeated whatever threat he had said. Again,
yeah, I seem to remember you saying that he had his one hand in his pocket, yeah. Like he had a weapon that he was threatening you with, but he wouldn't pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, he never showed me a weapon, but he tried to indicate that he had one. But again, it was just so clearly bogus and insane that I'm just like, none of this was compelling to me that I should hand over my electronic device. He didn't make a good case for himself. And then eventually let go of my coat and he ran away. The dumb thing was that, like, a couple days later, I was going with someone to a wedding.
Yeah. So
I went to this wedding with a black eye, full of people that I did not know. So that was fun.
Well, you just said that she gave it to you, right?
I did. I did not indicate there was any sort of abuse going on now.
So you're leaving out
that would be in poor taste.
The most important part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Who made you an ice pack?
You did,
Who told you what to do?
Thank you. Because I'd never been punched in the face before, so I'm just like, what happens now? And you're like, you are going to want to ice that. And I did, and I still got a black eye. That is a 100% true story of something that happened. God, it must have been like 7 years ago.
Yeah. And, I mean, I can vouch for the story.
Yeah.
I mean, you came home with a black eye, so yes, there's that.
Yeah. That was what it was like getting punched in the face. It was more just like mystifying that it was painful or traumatic.
We're going to wrap up this episode with you and I each talking about a book that's already come out that we liked a lot. And I'm going to let you pick if you either get AR or WL.
I don't remember which one's which. So you, the first one.
Okay, so you want American Ronin?
No, I want the other one.
We Live?
Yeah, We Live. I liked We Live a whole lot. It's by the Miranda brothers, Inaki Miranda, and I can't remember his brother's name.
Weird that you remember Inaki, because that's the weirder one. The other one's like Brandon.
Well, Inaki Miranda is someone I've already liked their artwork.
Okay.
They've done a bunch of DC stuff.
And also, it's not actually Brandon, but it's like Brandon.
Sure. So I was already a little excited for this, just on an art level. I liked the first cover that Aftershock had shown off. Aftershock or Vault?
Aftershock.
Okay. They're the exact same company, so it almost doesn't matter. And I really like the first issue. It's very much like a sci-fi take on the road, and also like Childhood's End. There's a lot of really fun world building in it that I really enjoyed. If you've, I'm trying to think of something to compare it to. Like a lot of the Hickman stuff, it really reminds me of. It's very similar to some of that in kind of how dense the world they're building is.
There's real fun characters that will have bigger roles to play.
Yeah. But the core dilemma is really strong. It is about a world that has basically reached its end, and aliens show up to go, we will rescue a certain amount of children. And they drop these like bans all over the earth, and kids who put them on, if they get to one of the exit sites, get to leave the planet and survive. So it is about a sister and her younger brother, and the younger brother is one of the kids who's going to get to leave, and it's her trying to get him to one of these exit sites when the world is basically
knowing full well that
on its last legs.
Once she succeeds, she's going to die.
Yeah. And it's great. It's how they build out the world, and we're kind of, we're like 80 years in the future, and kind of what the world and the kids and the language and all that sort of stuff looks like. There's a very fun, like, expository newsreel that starts the issue off.
To catch you up on what's happened to the world.
That really, it draws you in. I liked it. I liked Relive a whole lot.
It also has QR codes to songs.
Yeah.
That just distracted me from reading it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a great premise. It's a great first issue. I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I'm also pitching American Ronin, which is Peter Milligan and not CAFU, but ACO. And I always mess those two up.
You do, it's true.
I really like this. This is a crazy, high-octane spy book, kind of. Like, it is... It's the definition of Ronin, not in the feudal sense, but I mean in it, but not. It's like basically he's a spy, an ex-spy who is going after people.
He's a freelance peacekeeping
but
agent.
He can.
Wait, no.
He can. I was going to make a. I couldn't decide if I was going to say what or tick, but I tick is bug, not Death's Head. And he can really get into people's heads and become them, like really become them.
It's weaponized empathy.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Did you know of that?
I think they might have used that in the book, but it's also from a Superchunk song lyric.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I love the art on it. I love ACO a lot. I was a huge fan of the very short-lived Nick Fury series that he illustrated for James Robinson.
And I always thought that was CAFU, and that's why I said it.
No, yeah, ACO. It just does some amazing stuff with color and page design and layout, and there's a density to his stuff that I really enjoy. Like, there's so much art on the page that I love that. The Milligan story, I was not as dialed into. It's maybe too much. There's a little too much going on in the first issue for me to really feel like I got a handle on it, but I mean, it is gorgeous to look at, and it's a very fun concept. Milligan's an old school Vertigo guy, and this feels like an old school Vertigo book, where it's like, we're going to do something that is actiony, but also has like a real
cerebral
take on it. Like, I'm not surprised you liked it because you're a Question guy.
Yeah.
And Question was a book that's like, we're doing a superhero thing, but I also want to talk about like Eastern philosophy and like issues of identity and all that sort of stuff. And American Ronin is like a James Bond thriller if it was also like a self-help treatise, you know?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's a very bizarre book, and I liked it. I think I liked We Live more.
You can find We Live on the New This Week section for now. I'm sure it'll be in the #1 section.
Yeah.
Next week.
You can find
American Ronin on the first issue shelf, and you can find Second Prince of Stillwater, which we both liked a lot.
We did, it's true.
And did you read #2?
I did, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, we both have to read the PDF at #2.
I thought 2 had a great ending, man.
Yeah. You know what? I did. I just read another. What was it?
I'm going to pitch SCARENTHOOD real quick. I like SCARENTHOOD.
Still haven't read that yet. Still haven't read that.
Man.
SCARENTHOOD isn't out yet, for the record.
No, but it is still available for pre-order, and we ordered a bunch more, because I read the first issue from IDW, and I really liked it. It's by Nick Roche, who's a guy that's done some other stuff, but I mainly know him from really, really excellent Transformers stories. This is not that. This is a story about a group of
parents,
kind of stay-at-home parents in a small Irish town that are investigating supernatural occurrences. It is very vulgar. It's very funny. It's if you like stuff like Giant Days, it's got sort of that rhythm and pace to it. The characters are very funny, and yet there's a lot going on under the hood. The relationships between the parents as friends, and then also the parents with their children, I thought was really fun to read. I think it's just a 4-issue series, which obviously, if it succeeds, they could do follow-ups.
Yeah.
It's a very open-ended concept.
Unless they all die.
Unless they all get killed by issue 4. I really liked issue 1. I think if you're looking for a kind of offbeat, funny horror series, I think you'll really like it. I'm not a horror guy, so the stuff that I like from horror tends to be a little bit more off-center, and this is that. I dug it. I really dug SCARENTHOOD #1.
Hey, while we're doing this, I thought it was just going to be those 2 books, but
nope.
Giga.
Oh, yeah,
Giga #1, coming from Vault. Did you read it?
I did. I read Giga #1.
Giga coming from Vault, and it's it may sound in premise a little bit like We Only Find Them When They're Dead, but it is about a series of giant mechs that had come to this planet and all just like shut down.
Yeah, they saved the planet, and then they basically became cities that the people on the planet live in. So their relationship to these cities is also as like gods and protectors. But there's a lot that's being hidden from the public about them, or things that we maybe don't know about the situations. I thought the first issue of Giga ended better than it began.
I completely agree. At the first couple pages, I'm like, I don't know about this, but by the end of it, I'm like, I'm invested in this.
Yeah, the second half I got real dialed into because it became a lot more character-driven. The beginning is, there's a time jump and a lot of setup.
Once the time jump happens.
Yeah. So there's things where it's like, you need what's happening before the time jump to give you a lot of context for what's happening later. But time jumps in first issues are always a real big gamble for me.
You know, it's almost the opposite of We Live, because it had a lot of... It needed to tell you the world it was in, and it had a lot of exposition, but it wasn't as engagingly told.
No.
But...
They didn't really come at it in a real interesting way. It's very... not dull. I mean, it's just perfunctory. It's like, here it is.
It's very basic. It's very normal.
Yeah. Like, there's a point where even one of the characters is being bored by what he's told because it's being conveyed in a boring way. And it's like, I get that you're hanging a lantern on it, but maybe don't make it boring.
Yeah.
Maybe conceive it in a way where it's not a boring way to convey this information.
But it turns around so much that we're both like, yeah, we're down for this.
Yeah, again, once it gets into the character stuff, and there's a kind of a main 2-character dynamic that starts to surface, then it becomes real fun. There's more of a kind of questing feel to it. And like We Live, I mean, there's a sense of like, there are 2 characters and they have to go on a quest, and the world around them is sort of unsafe and unknown. So, I mean, it was weird reading We Live after I read Giga, because I felt like aesthetically they were kind of similar, and then tonally they were kind of similar. They were mining kind of the same inspirations.
Sure. One of the things that I think that I want us to do better with is conveying to people how good some of these upcoming books are they've never heard of, like the books we just mentioned all of.
Sure.
And we were looking at some Image sales figures coming up, and the lowest selling of all of them was Stillwater.
Kills
and
me.
We love it.
Kills me.
We love it. And I thought Department of Truth was really good, and it had a high number as well. But then, like, the next 2 major releases, which I think are okay, are massive sales numbers.
Certainly, like, of the 3 big launches they've got coming out, or recently had launched, Department of Truth, Stillwater, and Crossover, I thought Stillwater is far and away the best of the 3, artistically.
Yeah. You're not counting Scumbag, which was way up there in orders.
That is the most mystifying, because I read that and I thought it was absolutely terrible. Your mileage may vary, folks. I mean, give it a shot if you think you're interested. I'm not a Remender guy. Let me
we had
clarify
someone
that.
email today and say, all right, your email's convinced me, I'll add it. And I thought, that wasn't my goal.
No.
I'm just presenting it to you.
Yeah, we're notifying you. We're not pitching it. I think Crossover is good and has With Donny Cates, it's a weird one because he's basically already saying there is stuff coming up that you will never even guess.
The other one was Commanders in Crisis,
which I thought was poor.
I thought it was okay. Like, it exists, but it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I recently read a PDF from a new title, and so many of these new books I've been reading have been like, God, these are so good. This one was like, oh, that's there.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not telling you what it is because I don't want to badmouth it. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
That's how much it didn't stick with me.
Yeah, that happens.
But I think that there's only so much we can do in the store saying, hey, We Live is great. You know, how many people can you actually tell that to on a regular basis?
Yeah,
so
we've said that before when it comes to like how many first issues should come out in a week, because it's like I can pitch 1, maybe 2 first issues in a week.
Yeah.
I can't pitch 4. So when you're a publisher and you're putting out 3 number 1 issues in a week, there's no way.
But, you know, we had Rorschach as the pick of the week. We didn't have We Live right at the counter to say to people, hey, this is really good. Take a look through this.
It's true. But at the same time, like, it is easier to sell Rorschach. It's going to have more issues. There's a better chance of, like, We Live is a gamble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you'll like it, but I don't know if you're going to. But Rorschach, you already know if you're going to like it or not.
You know what you're getting
just
into.
Didn't know it came out.
Right. And honestly, Rorschach will make us so much more money.
Yeah.
But we want to point out books like We Live, and I think like that's why I want to call attention to them.
You're right.
Because there'll be people listening to this who will think, oh, I'll look at it next time I'm in.
Yeah, which is
versus seeing it on the shelf and just going, and moving on.
Yeah, it's one of the most difficult things with comic books is that you look at a cover and oftentimes it's not really conveying anything. Like, it might be representative of the story inside, but it's not telling you what the book is about. It's not telling you what the story is. Like, there's no movie trailer, basically, that's like a good substitute for comic books. I mean, people will do like interviews online and there will be solicit text and whatever, but that thing where you pick up a comic, like, you have to flip through it to figure out what it's going to be, and there's too many comics to pick up and flip through.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, Patrick.
Oh, man. So I had to turn somebody away who wanted Come Home India today.
Oh, yeah?
Because we're out.
Well, there'll be more coming in soon.
Right, and that's what I said. I'm like, hey, they're...
Probably one day, I'd imagine.
I hope. They're coming from Tennessee, so it's a little bit like an extra day.
Maybe.
But, and then after the fact, I thought...
We placed that order late in the day Wednesday, so I gotta think they're going to be in by Monday.
I thought, like, there's 2 people who have books on hold that I know are not coming in immediately. I could have just taken one of theirs.
You could have.
But I don't...
No, they can. The other person can wait.
Yeah.
I don't ever like taking stuff off a hold, even if it's like, no one's going to miss this.
Right, I know.
I just don't like...
I completely agree with you, but also... I wonder if, like, that person who called, because they didn't, like, because I'm like, I can take your name and number.
Sure.
Like, who's to say they didn't just go to Amazon right after that?
Did you see there was an Onion story today that had a really great headline?
No.
Okay, I want to read it out, so I'm going to find it real fast. It was...
But the point of my story is we sold a ton of Come Home India.
We did, and I hope people are going to tell us what they thought of it. I mean, I haven't really heard a lot of feedback. I mean, we've heard feedback from people who were, like, in the industry.
Yeah, or people who already read PDFs of it.
Yeah.
And then still bought a hard copy.
The headline from today's Onion was, Nation's independent bookstore owners announced they don't have it in stock but would be happy to order it in for you.
Oh, man. That's...
Yeah, and I mean, it's a very short story behind this.
I hate when anyone says that's on the internet, but I'm just going to say... It me.
Yeah, it me. I mean, the rest of this, there's a short story attached to it, and it is so dead on with the, like, I gotta check the system, and it'll be in 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
And it's like, and then the person's like, yes, and then they buy it online anyway.
Ugh.
But
it's too true.
It was so dead on.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Man.
How many times in a day do you have to tell someone that you don't have something, but you can order it?
Yeah.
So many times.
Yep.
Can't stock
we have
everything.
A lot of books.
Sorry.
We have a lot of books, though.
We do.
So next time you're at your comic store, whether it be Challengers or Westfield or wherever you're going for your books, perhaps All-Star Comics in Melbourne, perhaps Acme in North Carolina, check out We Live and Stillwater and American Ronin and put in your pre-orders for Giga and all those Future State books. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.